What if Excalibur was just unkillable, and every room you walk into instantly disappears before enemies even realize you're there? This is Immortal Excalibur, a build that turns sustain into permanent survival, and permanent survival into non-stop pressure. And if that somehow wasn't disgusting enough, what if we turn Excalibur into Saryn? Toxic, harmful, inevitable. Also, there's an obscure tech almost nobody talks about. A weird little synergy with this companion that pushes the build way further than it has any right to go. I won't spoil it yet, just know this isn't Excalibur playing the game. It's Excalibur breaking it. Welcome everyone to this Excalibur video, where I'll attempt to dump my limited knowledge directly into your brain, so you can enjoy a couple more ways of playing this frame. Excalibur is one of the OGs, the poster boy. New player friendly, strong at basically every stage of the game, and an amazing option for melee enjoyers. And despite being old as fuck, this man has aged like wine. Every expansion somehow makes him stronger instead of obsolete, which honestly feels wrong, considering half his kit belongs in a museum. The two builds I'm showing today both use Arcane Persistence to heavily reduce incoming damage, different Archon Shards to either boost or max HP or amplify Toxin damage, and an Exalted Blade with lifesteal to instantly recover health while clearing entire rooms. All of that accompanied by the Helminth Charger and his Strain set, which provide an array of boosts that help more than you would expect. And you will see what in a second. Just a quick disclaimer. I am using Excalibur Umbra because the Umbral mods fit really nicely on the Warframe itself. That part is great. The annoying part is that Umbral mods inside the Exalted are kinda awkward, so I had to remove the Umbral polarities. If you don't plan on using Umbral mods, honestly just use regular Excalibur. It will make modding both the frame and the Exalted Blade much easier. As for abilities, I'm mainly focusing on the Exalted Blade here since the Helminth abilities will be covered later, and these builds honestly don't care much about the rest of Excalibur's base kit. Now, this Exalted weapon is insanely strong. It's an energy sword that fires waves with infinite punch through, but with a fixed max range. So the waves pierce enemies, walls, the veil, everything, until they disappear. Range won't increase the distance of the waves, but it will improve the physical reach of the blade itself. The waves also build combo, trigger melee arcanes, and benefit from almost every buff or mod you can throw at them. And then there's Chromatic Blade. This augment is absolutely mandatory for both builds. It changes the weapon damage type into an elemental one based on your emissive color, while also massively increasing status chance, like a lot, which is exactly why melee influence or status setups become completely ridiculous on Excalibur. Let's start with the first build, Immortal Explosive Maggots. Yeah, the name already tells you this build probably shouldn't be a thing. This setup uses 5 orange Archon Shards to increase our max HP whenever we kill enemies with blast damage, and Nourish subsumed over our second ability for energy economy and viral application. Our Exalted Blade will also use an emissive color that turns it electric. As for the mods, Aura, Exodus and Umbral mods are pretty flexible. Feel free to go for more strength, duration or defensive options depending on preference. That said, this much duration from narrow mandate and prime continuity just feels way too good to give up. Then we get into the mandatory stuff. Arcane Persistence is our main survival tool. Roaring Guard is the panic button for cleansing dangerous status effects, and Chromatic Blade is literally the core of the build. So that one never leaves. Then there's Strain Consume, and this is where things start getting weird. Arcane Bellicose will also give us up to a 72% extra strength once we reach 3000 max HP, which sounds good enough at first until you realize how easy this build reaches that number. With a full set of Archon Shards, you only need around 45 kills. Now let me explain this string set, because this thing reads like a fever dream. The set grows cysts that periodically spawn maggots. These maggots are incredibly weak and friendly units that don't really do much on their own, but the synergy between the set mods is what makes this whole thing actually strong. There are 4 mods total, one for the Warframe, one for melee weapons, one for the Helminth Charger itself, and one for the claws. The more mods equipped, the more cysts you generate. String Consume eats dead maggots around you to increase max HP, while also providing health regeneration. Strain Infection increases melee critical damage per active cyst. Strain Eruption makes maggots explode on death, dealing corrosive damage based on enemy max HP. And finally, Strain Fever gives your Helminth Charger bonus damage for every ground cyst. Is this set mandatory? No. Is it completely stupid and surprisingly effective? Absolutely. Now for the Exalted Blade itself. This first setup uses Blast plus Electricity with melee influence, which creates absurd chained reactions capable of deleting entire rooms as long as enemies are remotely close together. So, basically normal Warframe behavior. The build itself is stacking tons of status chance, lifesteal, utility, and enough damage to make Steel Path foes reconsider their career choices. Finally, the companion setup. Helminth Charger with these mods feel ridiculously good here. Use Tandem Bond and Vicious Bond, prioritize Link mods over regular survivability, and definitely run Pack Leader so your beast constantly heals. You can leave Trample at rank 0 since the percentage scaling won't change anyway. And for the claws, Strain Fever is the important part, everything else is flexible. Now onto the second build. And this one gets as toxic as your ex, literally. This setup uses 5 green Archon Shards to increase Toxin proc damage, alongside Rhino's Roar, subsumed over our second ability. And there's a good reason for that. You will see why in a moment. It double dips, that's why. Our Exalted Blade emissive color this time will be green, turning the weapon into pure Toxin damage. Most mods stay the same, except now we use Archon Continuity to inflict free corrosive, and we drop the Strain mod in favor of a flex slot. Equilibrium, more defense, max energy, pretty much anything fits here. However, consider Slam damage a good candidate. And why, you may ask? Soon you'll see. Since we are no longer stacking max HP through Orange Shards, we also switched to Arcane Blessing for extra survivability. As for the Exalted Blade itself, more than half the setup remains identical. The main changes are Primed Fever Strike, just for the sake of it, Lasting Sting for longer Toxin procs, and any faction damage mod for the UC triple dip. You may still be wondering, why was Slam damage mentioned before? And here's the answer. Melee Afflictions will inflict more status procs on enemies flung or knocked down by our attacks, and the heavy attacks and all slam attacks will do so consistently. If only 6 or 7 stacks were strong, now imagine 20 or more. This build can use basically any companion, but I would still recommend something capable of healing or supporting your playstyle. I went with the Viral Cut but green this time. Compared to the Blast version, this one is less tanky long term, but it plays much more like attack enemies once and walk away setup. The Toxin procs basically finish the mission for you while you pretend to be useful somewhere else. Honestly, there's probably a way to combine Blast, Electricity and Toxin all into one setup, which sounds completely cursed. But doing that would probably require sacrificing too many stats and mod slots here and there. The rest of the loadout is entirely preference. Just bring something reliable in case nullifiers ruin your day, and remember to equip dexterity mods on your Archon so your combo duration lasts longer, unless of course you're using Aramon. These builds are honestly pretty straightforward, so I don't have a ton of hidden text to mention. Just remember to recast Exalted Blade every now and then if you're using the Archon Shards plus Arcane Blade setup, so the extra strength gets infused over your abilities. And with the Toxin build, don't waste time overcommitting to enemies. Hit them once, let the Toxin procs do the work, and move on. You've got Space Ninja war crimes to commit somewhere else. So yeah, we finally reached the end of the video. And honestly, Excalibur doesn't feel as old as he should, even while I'm blatantly ignoring like 60% of his abilities. The way he scales with modern systems and benefits from newer mechanics genuinely makes him feel stronger with every update, which honestly says a lot considering parts of his kit are still painfully underwhelming. Now yes, I know you can build him for crits and focus on slash dash. And yes, I know Furious Javelin exists and boosts melee damage, but compared to these melee influence setups, they are not even in the same universe. Shocking, I know. A fully invested Excalibur can absolutely become a monster. That part is undeniable, but at the same time, it's hard to ignore the fact that most of his base kit barely matters outside niche situations. Does he need a rework? Yeah, I genuinely think he does. Would I still recommend him? 1,000 times yes. For beginners, veterans, melee addicts, everyone. If melee combat is your thing, give him a chance. You probably won't regret it. Anyways, that's it from me, Tenno. Hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to share it with your fellow space ninjas, and I will see you next time. Peace!